Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Amritpal Singh. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, India's External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar says Operation Sindoor was a well-considered, thoughtful response to the barbaric Pahalgam terror attack. Big diplomatic victory for India as UNSC or the United Nations Security Council monitoring report flags the resistance front's role in the Pahalgam terror attack. The NASA-ISRO synthetic aperture radar or NISA all set for launch from India's Sriharikota satellite capable of all-weather 24/7 mapping of Earth. Hawaii and parts of Japan downgrade the tsunami warning after massive 8.8 quake hits off Russia's coast. Russia also cancels tsunami alert. External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar has asserted that India had sent a clear and firm message through Operation Sindoor. He was addressing the upper house of the Rajya Sabha's debate on Operation Sindoor. He emphasized on major steps taken by India in response to the Pahalgam attack.
The first clear message, sir, of India's anger, of our resolve, of our determination, was the decision taken by the Cabinet Committee on Security immediately, the day after, on 23rd of April. A number of steps were taken. Pakistani visas under SARC were cancelled. The mission was reduced in strength. The military advisors were expelled. But the most important decision was to hold the Indus Waters Treaty in abeyance.
Dr. Jaishankar said in the last decade, India has been able to put terrorism on the global agenda, be it in BRICS, the SCO, the Quad, or at the bilateral level due to efforts of Prime Minister Modi.
We have been able to put terrorism on the global agenda. We have every forum, BRICS ho, Quad ho, SCO ho, bilateral ho. Today, if terrorism is on the global agenda, it is due to the efforts of the Modi government. We were able to get Masood Azhar and Abdul Rahman Makki, two notorious terrorists, placed under the sanctions of the UN Security Council 1267. We were able to hold a Security Council meeting at the venue of terrorism attack, that is the Taj in Mumbai. That event had a huge impact about global consciousness on terrorism. We were able, through bilateral agreements and understandings, get back terrorists from key countries who have been sent back to India under extradition agreements.
And Dr. Jaishankar also said that India has given the same message to all countries that India is not open to mediation and will not accept the nuclear blackmail.
When Operation Sindoor commenced, a number of countries were in touch with us. And to all the countries, we gave the same message. We gave the message that India is exercising the right to defend itself. We gave a message, sir, that we were not open to any mediation, that anything now between us and Pakistan would only be bilateral. We gave a message that we will not accept nuclear blackmail, that whatever talk there may be about nuclear danger, that will not deter us from going ahead with Operation Sindoor. We gave a message that we are now responding to Pakistani attacks and we will keep responding And if that fighting is to stop, Pakistan must make a request, and that request can only come through the channel of the DGMO.
Dr. Jaishankar said that no world leader had asked India to stop Operation Sindoor, contrary to suggestions made in the opposition's attack.
There was no leader, nobody anywhere in the world who asked India to stop its operations. There was no linkage of trade in any of those conversations, and there was no cause between Prime Minister and President Trump.
And hitting out at the Congress leaders' comments, Dr. Jaishankar drew a comparison between Congress's normal and Modi normal. He said that Modi normal is that terrorists are not proxies and that cross-border terror will get appropriate response in our way at our own time.
There are two normals. There is a Congress normal, which I spoke about, and there is a Modi normal. The Modi normal is terrorists are not proxies. Number two, cross-border terrorism will get appropriate response in our way at our time. If there are talks, it will only be about terror. Number four, we will not give in to nuclear blackmail. And number five, terrorism and good neighborliness cannot go together. And therefore, sir, blood and water will not flow together.
BJP leader and the leader of the House in Rajya Sabha, Jagat Prakash Nadda or JP Nadda, commended the efforts of the security forces and soldiers for taking quick action against terror groups.
यह जरूर है कि सारी घटना में जो रोल हमारे जांबाज फौज ने किया, जो रोल हमारे पुलिस ने किया, जो रोल हमारी आर्मी ने किया, उसको देश नमन होकर के उनके प्रति आदर के साथ। लेकिन मैं इस हाउस के माध्यम से देश को यह बताना चाहता हूं कि पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप बहुत महत्वपूर्ण होती है, क्योंकि फौज को आदेश पॉलिटिकल लीडरशिप देती है। और इसलिए देयर इज अ डिफरेंस बिटवीन अ रिस्पॉन्सिबल गवर्नमेंट, अ रिस्पॉन्सिव गवर्नमेंट, अ सेंसिटिव गवर्नमेंट, अ प्रोएक्टिव गवर्नमेंट, and a government which responds according to the need of the hour.
In a major breakthrough by the Indian Army in Jammu and Kashmir, a successful anti-infiltration operation was carried out this morning under Operation Shiv Shakti. Troops eliminated 2 terrorists attempting to infiltrate across the line of control after a suspected movement was observed along the fence in the general area of Poonch sector of the Jammu division this morning. Following which synergistic and synchronized intelligence inputs from the intelligence units and police were used to lead a successful operation. 3 weapons were recovered and the operation is still in progress. Notably, the Poonch encounter comes 2 days after 3 terrorists involved in the Pahalgam attack were killed in an encounter near Srinagar. Home Minister Amit Shah told the Parliament during a debate on Operation Sindoor that 3 terrorists killed in Operation Mahadev that were Suleiman, Afghani and Gibran. They are perpetrators of the heinous Pahalgam attacks. In a major success this morning for India, efforts in getting the Resistance Front terror group sanctioned by the UN Security Council, its monitoring committee has officially mentioned the TRF in its latest report. According to the report, the TRF had published a photo of the Pahalgam terror attack site, an incident that has drawn widespread international concern. The committee also referenced claims suggesting the attack could not have occurred without support from Pakistan-based Lashkar-e-Taiba. The report also issued a broader warning that terrorist groups may exploit regional tensions, underlining the urgent need for proactive counter-terror measures. The report added that regional relations remain fragile, saying that there is a risk that terrorist groups may exploit these regional tensions. It also noted that one member state rejected these views and said that the Lashkar-e-Taiba was defunct, and India had briefed the committee earlier this year in April and May, highlighting the TRF's growing footprint and its operational links to the LET. Notably, on July 18th, the U.S. Department of State designated TRF as a foreign terrorist organization and as a specially designated global terrorist organization. South Korea's Chief Presidential Policy Secretary Kim Yong-byom said on Wednesday that they are discussing potential cooperation in chips, batteries and biotechnology and under a package proposal. 3 cabinet-level South Korean officials met U.S. Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick in Washington for trade talks. The South Korean government is negotiating with the United States by setting up a package that focuses on areas where both the countries can achieve mutually beneficial results. The United States and the EU have arrived at a trade agreement after months of tense negotiations. But now that the deal is done, critics are saying that Europe caved into President Trump and is getting the short end of the stick. To understand why, we turn to Deutsche Welle correspondent Emily Leshner in Berlin. Hi Emily, good to see you. Emily, why are the critics saying this, and why is this a bad deal for the EU?
Well, the reason that critics are saying that this is a bad deal for the EU is tied to the 15% baseline tariff that is now going to apply to around 70% of EU goods coming into the U.S. At the very start of these tariff negotiations, Europe was hoping and expecting to be able to secure a tariff rate that was in the single digits and to maintain what it had before the second Trump term. That was tariffs that were around 2.5% to 4%, depending on the product. And then it seems at some point this European goal, or that Europe kind of got lost sight of this goal. President Trump threatened 50% tariffs at one point. Europe hoped maybe it could walk away with a 10% tax. So it went from that, that hope of maintaining what it had previously to maybe 10%. And then Trump threatened 30% if a deal wasn't made by August 1st. And that's when Europe seems to have decided that 15% was the best that they can get. So in the eyes of many experts and academics and even, EU heads of state, Europe caved to the Trump administration and agreed to 15%. And the EU Commission says that 15% is better than the 30% that they were being threatened with. But everyone else seems to see the situation as the fact that 15% is not better than the 2.5% to 4% tariff rates. So that 15% is one reason why this is kind of being regarded as not such a great deal for Europe. There's another reason, and that's that Europe has promised the U.S. it will purchase $750 billion of fossil fuel energy over the next 3 years. That amounts to around $250 billion a year, which is way more than what Europe is currently importing from the U.S. I mean, it's just a fraction of it. Last year, Europe spent around $70 billion importing U.S. oil, LNG, and coal combined. So it doesn't even come close to that $250 a year that Europe promised. And European policy is shifting towards renewables, not towards fossil fuel energy. So for a lot of people, that promise didn't really make sense. And finally, Europe also promised to make $600 billion worth of investments. And this comes at a time when the European economy is struggling, and a lot of leaders think that this kind of investment could be better spent at home. So that's really the crux of the criticism of this deal.
Emily, the question then arises, why did Europe agree to it? Why would they promise something it's unlikely to be able to deliver?
Yeah, that's a very, very good question. And some analysts have even criticized EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen for promising investments and energy purchases, which they say the European Commission doesn't even have the power to do. So asking why would the EU agree to this is a very, very good question. And it's possible that von der Leyen understands that ultimately these kinds of purchasing commitments and investments are hard things to enforce, and that the White House has in the past let other countries off the hook for not meeting purchasing agreements like the ones in this deal. And a really good example of this is what happened a few years ago during the U.S. trade war with China. China agreed to buy an additional $200 billion in U.S. exports when they made a deal, and they had a 2-year deadline to make these purchasing commitments. And when that time ran out, China had only paid around 58% of what it had promised and didn't pay a penalty for it. So while some are saying that von der Leyen's deal was very short-sighted, others think that maybe she's playing the long game, placating the Trump administration, now that there's an expectation with him that things could change in the future, that they likely will change again. And even as we speak, there are some whisperings that this deal could end up falling through because both sides are discovering that they're interpreting certain things in the deal in very, very different ways from one another. So because things are in a constant state of flux, this could be a reason why the EU felt fine promising some commitments that it knew it probably couldn't make in the future.
Emily, then is there anything in the deal that benefits the European Union?
Well, some products are not going to get hit with any tariff. There's zero tariffs, like certain chemicals, as well as some airplane parts. There are also some agricultural products which won't get tariffed. So it's good news for the aeronautical industry and for food producers, perhaps. The EU is also trying to lock in 0% tariffs for some other products like wine and spirits. And then, one argument that the deal was a good thing is some analysts are saying that the end to all of this uncertainty is good for the markets. It's good for investor confidence. That could be a potential benefit. And finally, I would say the European car industry, one could argue, got a better deal out of this tariff agreement because now tariffs on cars coming from Europe went down 27.5%. To the baseline 15, or went from, 27.5%, which they were taxed with now, to the baseline 15%. So that could be one positive benefit to come out of this for the EU.
Okay, we leave it there. Emily Leshner, thank you very much for joining us from Berlin. Moving on, the Nepal Automobile Importers and Manufacturers Association will organize NAIMA or NAIMA Nepal Mobility Expo 2025 from August the 6th to the 10th in Nepalese capital Kathmandu. The exhibition will launch 15 two-wheelers, 15 four-wheelers and 5 commercial vehicles. International companies will participate in the expo, including Indian companies like Mahindra PV in the four-wheeler category, and in the two-wheeler sector, brands like Ather, Bajaj, TVS, Ultraviolet and others will participate. The president of NAIMA stated that the exhibition will feature panel discussions by various national and international experts.
5% of the ticket revenue from this expo will be dedicated to a very important social cause, which is supporting research and fellowship programs in the partnership with the Ministry of Education and CTEPT.
Several countries, including Japan, the United States and Russia, have downgraded tsunami warnings after a powerful magnitude 8.8 earthquake struck off Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula earlier on Wednesday. Authorities in Russia's Kamchatka Peninsula lifted the tsunami warning more than 11 hours after an earthquake near the region's coast prompted evacuations. Meanwhile, Japan's weather agency also lowered the tsunami alerts for much of the country, but it's maintaining warnings for northern areas. Same in the United States. Hawaii County lifted its evacuation order after the alert was downgraded and limited to follow the advisories issued.
Tsunami Warning Center has downgraded the forecast from a tsunami warning to a tsunami advisory. The PTWC continues to monitor for more data to update its forecast and for an all clear that they may issue later on. A tsunami advisory means that the potential for strong currents or dangerous waves are expected or occurring for those in or near the water. There may be flooding of beach or harbor areas. Those who have evacuated may safely return home based on county assessments and directives.
About 150 members of the Spanish military emergency unit battled a wildfire in the Cáceres region on Wednesday before dawn, while temperatures are expected to reach about 35 degrees Celsius during the day. Over 200 residents in Las Hurdes area were evacuated. The fire has affected 2,500 hectares of land. Spain experienced its hottest June on record. And a massive wildfire near Arauca in northern Portugal is burning through the steep forested hills, inching closer to Castelo de Paiva. Over 700 firefighter trucks and 9 aircraft are battling flames that are opening multiple fronts and proving to be hard to contain. With temperatures soaring and land drying fast, at least 10 major wildfires are burning across the country, raising serious concern. Experts say that climate change may be making summers harsher, turning ordinary fire seasons into dangerous emergencies. Let's now take a look at some other news making news world over. Germany's dubbing industry is urging regulatory measures to address challenges posed by artificial intelligence as concerns over quality and job security grow. Various voice artists expressed apprehension about AI being leveraged to cut costs, potentially compromising production standards. Dubbing remains a culturally significant area in markets such as Germany, Italy and France, where viewers equally prefer dubbing to subtitles. In Kyrgyzstan, many patients are facing deadly delays in treatment due to shortage of life-saving medicines. The shortages are due to both a heavy dependency on imported drugs and a lack of their own production capacities. Patients often turn to foreign sources or black markets, risking expired or fake drugs. And in just a few moments from now, a historic moment in space exploration will unfold at India's Satish Dhawan Space Center in Sriharikota. After the successful Axiom 4 mission, the next space mission, NASA-ISRO Synthetic Aperture Radar or NISA, a satellite, is set to launch today at 5:40 or 17:40 hours. That's in about 17-18 minutes from now, aboard ISRO's GSLV F-16 rocket. NISA will scan the entire globe every 12 days, providing high-resolution, all-weather, day and night data. It can detect even subtle changes in Earth's surface, like ground deformation, ice sheet shifts, and vegetation dynamics. The mission will support many critical applications, including sea ice monitoring, ship detection, storm tracking, soil moisture changes, surface water mapping, and disaster response. A milestone marks a decade of collaboration between ISRO and NASA. And my colleague Jai Singh joins us from Sriharikota. Jai, hi, this is Amrit here. First of all, give us a sense of the preparations at Sriharikota where you are.
Well, Amrit, the preparations are going on very smoothly. Now the launch operation has been made fully automatic. All human interventions have been completed successfully. So Launch Authorization Board has given its go-ahead for its launch. The whole sequence of events from now on will be taken over by autonomous systems. So the scientists are well confident because they have been doing the preparations for this historic launch for over a decade. Though there were interventions like the COVID-led lockdown, The scientists were continuously, doing their integration of the systems and subsystems, both in Jet Propulsion Laboratory in the US by NASA and in the Space Center in ISRO's headquarters, close by the ISRO headquarters in Bangalore. So even during, the lockdown, around 75 ISRO scientists were in NASA, and after this event, over 100 scientists were stationed in Bangalore for the full integration of the systems. They're checking and rechecking, and now the consummation of all those efforts are going to coming to a fruition.
All right. It's so you're saying it's all automated. So we're not going to hear that reverse countdown of 10, 9, 8, blah blah blah. It'll just go on by its own.
No, the countdown will be made by human, the scientists only, but the sequence will be led by software. So the countdown is just an outward process, but all the internal processes will be taken over by the systems. The scientists will be tracking those things, and based on which the countdown normally will be going on stream as usual. The launch process, in that launch process there won't be any integration. This countdown of the descending order, and then after the lift off, the ascending order, this will be all only human.
So nobody presses a button. This is just a countdown, and then the systems take over and it launches by itself.
Yes, of course. The countdown is 27.5 hours process. Now it has come to a critical position. The countdown will go on still further, but the processes will be automated. Once the count 0 comes, it will be lifted off at 5:40 hours in this evening, and within 19 minutes, it will the whole launch mission will be over, and it will be put in a 745 kilometer altitude. This is a geotransfer orbit. Then from geotransfer orbit, the scientists will be maneuvering to bring it to its parental, the originally intended orbit. That will take up to 3 days, and then it will be made operational after deploying the solar panel and the radar. The radar, one of the very interesting thing is, this is one of the biggest
can I stop
radars
you? Jason, can I stop you
on
here?
the sky.
You saying it will first go to the geotransfer orbit. Why are they first taking it to the geotransfer orbit and then to its other orbit?
Am I audible?
Can you hear me? Jaya, can you hear me?
Yeah, now I can hear.
So I wanted to ask you, I was asking you, why are they first taking it to the transfer orbit and then after 3 days moving it to its final orbit?
Yeah, this is the routine process. For any satellite, the rocket will not put the payload or its satellite exactly at the location in which it is required. So once the geotransfer orbit is attained, and then the rocket, in this case GSLV F-16, the rocket retires, and then the scientists take over to inject it into the exact orbit, so that whether it is a sun synchronous orbit, in this case it is sun synchronous orbit, in some cases it is geosynchronous orbit. So that will be in the hands of the scientists by way of doing this maneuvering by burning the engines that are inbuilt in the satellite itself with the fuel. So that is the process. Routine process.
All right. So, what takes it, you saying the GSLV Mark II rocket will take it to the transfer orbit, and from there it will take it to the next orbit. So the GSLV Mark II, the rocket takes it just till the transfer orbit. How does it go to the next orbit then?
Yes. It is not the next orbit. It is the orbit is close by, because it should not deviate from the originally intended path. Then only we will be able to get the signals on a full stream basis, continuous basis. Therefore, the transfer orbit is a little closer to the originally intended orbit only. But this, fine tuning, it is a kind of a fine tuning of the satellite to push it to the actually intended orbit. This is part of any launch process globally, all across the world.
Okay. Jay, also give me a sense of, this is the ISRO and NASA's, joint collaboration. What have the Indians done in this mission, and what have the Americans done?
Well, Amrit, the very interesting point is NASA has given the long wavelength radar. It can peep through even pitch darkness, even into the canopy, into thick forest, and reach up to the ground level and get the echoed or reflected signals back and see what is there, what are the changes. Not only on the canopy, but also underneath the canopy on the surface of the earth. We have, ISRO has provided the long wavelength, the short wavelength radar S-band. So this is the one of the very few satellites that will be having two bands, S-band as well as L-band, long band. So one of the advantages is that by using these two bands together, by collating the data together, we will be able to get very precise changes up to the level of 1 centimeter on the surface, whether it is glacier or mountain track or any other, any other area of interest. For example, India, many of the hilly regions are prone to landslides. We experienced in Wayanad exactly 1 year back, and many other places in Himachal Pradesh and nearby areas. So 12 days back, what was the position of any particular object on the mountain, and after 12 days, because the 12 days means every 12 days the satellite will be covering the same swath of area of 242 square kilometer. So in that area, even 1 centimeter variation can be detected, and we can come to a conclusion whether the land mass is moving or it is static. So that kind of utility is there.
Okay, so you're saying that the satellite will be able to read the changes in the Earth's surface more precisely than, say, the earlier eyes in the sky can do. Jai, can I request you to stay on with me, please? Let's take a look in our next story about how India's space program, led by the Indian Space Research Organization, or the ISRO, is undergoing a transformation marked by bold ambitions, technological innovation, and increasing global collaboration. Take a look at some of the key achievements of India's space mission. First, the Mangalyaan. Mangalyaan, or the Mars Orbiter mission, was launched on board the PSLV C-25 on November 5th in 2013. The fourth space agency, it was the world's fourth space agency to successfully send a spacecraft to Mars orbit. It was a designed mission. Its life was about 6 months, but it completed 7 years in its orbit. It successfully entered Mars orbit on September 23rd, 2014. It became the first, with that, India became the first Asian country to achieve this feat. Okay, the next was Axiom 4 mission, which enabled human space flight for the first government-sponsored flight in more than 40 years. The three nations executed the mission on board the ISS, or the International Space Station. It redefined the pathway to low Earth orbit to boost space programs globally and strengthen India's position in the global space exploration. It also laid the groundwork for future program, and the Bharatiya Antariksh Station, India's group captain Shubhanshu Shukla was part of the 4-member team of the mission. the space flight returned to Earth aboard the SpaceX Dragon capsule Grace. It splashed down at off San Diego at about 3 p.m. Indian time on the 15th of this month. Okay, let's talk about Gaganyaan now. This program was India's first indigenous human spaceflight initiative program, which was approved with a budget of about 20,193 crore rupees. It aims to send Indian astronauts to low Earth orbits. Besides, it also includes the establishment of the Bharatiya Antariksh Station by 2035. Bharatiya Antariksh Station is basically in the Indian equivalent of the ISS or the International Space Station. The Indian crewed lunar landing it plans an Indian crewed lunar landing by 2040. There are 8 planned missions, including both uncrewed and crewed flights. 4 Indian Air Force test pilots have already been selected for this mission.